Okay, bread pudding. We're going to start with our bread pudding. We're going to spray our pan very well because it can be sticky. So we've got that ready to go. Bread pudding is basically made out of whatever needs to be used. So here we have some homemade bread that we made about a week ago. It's still good. It's flour. There's not any kind of mold or anything. Got a bagel that nobody seems to want to eat. Got some homemade biscuits we made a couple days ago. And a hot dog bun, one sad, lonely hot dog bun in the drawer. So we're going to break all of this up and we're going to put it in the pan. And this is going to be our bread pudding. But anything that you have laying around, if you have some muffins, some donuts, what have you, English muffins, anything you got can be made into bread pudding. Just breaking up our bread so we can get it all in there. Okay, so we've got our bread all broken up and you can see our pan is pretty well full. And because this is a custard and it's got eggs in it, it's going to rise up a little bit. So you don't want it like overflowing with bread because it is going to souffle up a little bit for you. Over here are the ingredients for our custard. We've got eggs, milk. Of course, we use the Lactaid milk, but you can use any kind of milk. You can use heavy cream if you want it to be really rich and add a bunch of extra calories. Either way, it's going to be delicious no matter what you use. We've got sugar, just plain white sugar, vanilla, and cinnamon. So we're going to be mixing all this up, and that's going to be our custard. Okay, in here I have beat up 6 eggs, 6 whole eggs. I'm going to add sugar. I would love to give you measurements. I just don't have them. Every time I make bread pudding, I just kind of wing it based on what I have. The bread that's in there was made with cinnamon roll dough, so it's fairly sweet. So I won't really need a whole lot of sugar. That's probably about maybe a half a cup of sugar. And we'll add cinnamon. Probably a good teaspoon of cinnamon. At least a teaspoon, probably 2, of vanilla. I'll mix that up. It's a lot similar to like making French toast, but it's going to be more milky than if you were to make French toast. So we'll just start adding our milk. And really at this point I'm just going to add milk until I think that I've got enough liquid for what I need. If I added a little bit there, that probably wasn't even a quarter of a cup. So we're going to add some more. Probably at least a cup there. I think I've got quite enough liquid, so I'm just going to add just a little bit more, maybe another half a cup of milk. So probably in all, maybe 2 cups of milk.
The coloration at this point is very much like milky coffee. It doesn't look so on the it doesn't look so on the camera, but like coffee with a lot of milk in it, that kind of color.
It doesn't really look like a whole lot of liquid to, solid, but bread, is really gonna, when it gets absorbed, the liquid gets absorbed in it, it's actually gonna go a lot further than you think. So you just pour it right on. You can get a spoon if you don't like getting your hands dirty, but for me, just kind of sort of press it around. You want to make sure that all of the bread is covered with the egg mixture. This is actually probably even a little bit dry. It'll still work, but it's probably a little bit dry. So maybe you know, another egg, another half cup of milk would have been fine. I don't typically make bread pudding in a water bath, but since this is a little more on the dry side, I will go ahead and do that this time just to make sure it's kept nice and moist.
It's absorbing a lot of that liquid now. It's really,
so you can see how it's kind of getting...
Just pushing it down, sponging it up.
Yeah, it's soaking it all up and...
It smells good.
And actually, this is a little, it's a little dry for me, so I'm gonna just add a little bit and sort of work that in there. Yeah, it's more like it. What I'm looking for when I make bread pudding, as far as moisture content, like when I press on it, I want to feel liquid come up between my fingers. I've been pressing on it and it's dry. There's not enough custard. So if you're pressing on it and you're feeling that kind of squish in between your fingers, then you know you've got enough liquid in there, enough custard. Okay, and you can see that this kind of comes down about half the size of the pan, but like I said, with the eggs and stuff, it will rise up as it bakes. I mentioned a water bath earlier, which is something that you can do. A water bath essentially, like you would cover this and you would put it in a pan larger than this, and you would fill it up maybe about halfway with water. It just kind of helps to keep the pudding moist. I don't actually have a pan large enough that I can put this down in, so I can't do a water bath, so that's why I did go ahead and add the more milk to it so that it's moist enough and it'll bake up just fine without it. I used a disposable pan with this today, but really you can use, you know, any baking pan that you have, any 13 by 9. If you don't have a whole lot of bread, you know, you can do it in a smaller, like 8 by 8, you know, whatever you have is fine. You would cover it with foil if you didn't have something like a lid like this, but I would suggest spraying it just so it doesn't stick, because this is going to rise up and you don't want to lose half your pudding like on the lid. And I'm just going to lay it down. Like I'm not going to tighten it or anything. I'm going to keep it loose because if we get enough rise out of it, you know, it's going to lift up off the pan. So we're just going to lay it there. My oven on at 375. Just going to put this in my middle rack here, and I'm going to check it, you know, like, because I have no real recipe. I just wing it with this. We'll check it in about 30 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like, and we'll see how close we are. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. I did put this on another tray just because it's a lot easier to get it in and out of the oven. So we're just going to take a look and see where we're at. It's still pretty damp on the top. You can see on the sides how it's starting to turn, these changing colors. When it's all pretty much that same color that you see on the outer rim, then it's going to be done. So I'm probably going to put it in, if I'm not too far in there, I'm probably going to go ahead and put it in for another 30 minutes. Okay. Alright, at this point it's been baking for an hour. You can see that it's really kind of puffed up, which it'll, as it cools, it'll settle back down, but there's a lot of air in there. It's kind of, you can see it's kind of spongy, but it's not liquidy. And it's pulling away from the sides. It's a nice golden brown along the sides of it. Toothpick's clean. We're calling it done.